For all its beauty and splendor, the wilderness can be a cruel teacher. Hiking will show you heaven and kill you just short of it. It lures you with silence, beauty, and a promise of clarity. And it keeps that promise, for a price. The trail doesn't care how fit you are, how spiritual your walk is, or how many people follow your journey online. In the backcountry, ego is dead weight, and ambition is a loaded gun with no safety. Let's venture back to the desolate desert where survival is earned, not given. This is outdoor disasters. For Hannah Moody, her desert hike would be catastrophic. 31-year-old Hannah Moody had always moved. In the beginning, it was dance, exotic dancing to be specific. She entered the profession at 20, drawn in by the rhythm of the music, the discipline of her body, and the rush of fast money. Hannah often called it a toxic relationship. She knew it was eating away at her, knew deep down that it was slowly unraveling her soul, but even then she continued. While you're in it, you see all the bad, all the negative, you know it's not good for you, so you leave. But then you slowly get sucked back in. Your brain tricks you into seeing all the good, and you convince yourself that it really wasn't that bad. And before you know it, you're stuck in a cycle that feels impossible to get out of, she wrote. The feeling may have driven her to pursue other things in her 20s. Born in California, she learned early that you could smile and ache at the same time. In her 20s, she took the same discipline and folded it into muscle, bikini bodybuilding. The stage was another kind of theater. 5 shows in 4 years, 5th place nationally once. The tan was fake, but the strength was not. Her thighs burned with effort, and her hands shook after cardio. She learned how to cut water weight and smile while starving. It wasn't about beauty, it was about control. The kind of control women learn to crave when the world gives them so little. But the industry was hollow. You posed and smiled, waiting for people to judge you and tell you your worth. She left that behind and found something else. Or maybe it found her. She found God. Not the soft kind in quiet pews, but the fierce, radiant kind who meets you on the mountain when you're alone and cold and scared. She became a Christian influencer, that's what they called it anyway. But to her it was more than hashtags and lighting presets. She spoke of struggle and scripture, of strength and surrender. She spoke openly about her troubled past and her imperfections. Faith didn't come easy, not even for her, but she wanted others to know they weren't alone in the fight, that the struggle was real and constant. And more than anything, she wanted her followers to feel seen, loved, and understood, especially when they couldn't feel it themselves. And people listened. They followed her by the thousands, amassing 50,000 followers on Instagram. She regularly shared uplifting posts about her religious faith, fitness journey, and Arizona outdoor adventures. People followed her not because she was polished, but because she was honest. Her struggle to walk in God's truth was ongoing. Her past as a stripper was never far behind. But for Hannah, that past wasn't a shame, it was a bridge. A way to reach others and remind them that God's grace extends to everyone, even someone like her. A former stripper, now redeemed, wandering through wild places with sand in her shoes and scripture on her lips. In November of 2024, Hannah moved to Charleston, South Carolina for a while and tried to make a life out there. But the desert pulled her back. Arizona, the saguaros, the pink skies, the hard sun. There was something raw in it. She returned 6 months later. She got a new apartment, a job at a local restaurant, and started making videos again. She called her new series Hikes with Han. Just her, the trail, and the voice of God. She was 31, and she felt alive. But ahead of her, the desert waited. It had no interest in her joy or her plans. It had claimed stronger people with fuller canteens and louder cries for help. She was walking into it with steady feet and a clear mind, unaware that the day would turn against her. That the trail, so familiar and welcoming, would soon become a crucible. The day is May 21st, 2025. Hannah's plan was to take on the Gateway Trail, a 4.4-mile or 7-kilometer loop nestled near Scottsdale, Arizona. It's typically rated as a moderately challenging hike, though it links up with tougher, more demanding trails for those who venture farther. The sun came up sharp and merciless, the way it always does in the Arizona summer. By mid-morning, it was already in the 90s. By noon, it would reach 102 or 39 degrees Celsius. The sky was cloudless, the kind of blue that lies to you, the kind that says it's beautiful when it's really a warning. Hannah Moody woke early. Maybe she prayed. Maybe she stretched like she used to back in her dancer days. She filled her pack, said something to the mirror, wrote something in her journal. We don't know, but we know she meant to come back. She drove to the Gateway trailhead just after sunrise, parked her car, and stepped out into a heat that hadn't yet peaked. She'd done this hike before. The trail is well marked, with info panels, a footbridge, a restroom, and shade at the trailhead. From the Gateway Trail, she would connect to the Tom's Thumb Trail. The 12-mile or 19-kilometer round-trip trail is classified as a challenging trail with steep climbs and exposed sections, but nothing she hasn't seen before. She was strong, lean, built for this. She'd posted a story the night before, promising she'd be careful. She promised she had 5 gallons of water. Some would later doubt that detail, say it didn't make sense, that it would have weighed too much. But maybe she was just trying to keep people from worrying. The desert didn't care either way. Maybe she started fast. That's how confident hikers do it. Try to beat the sun by outrunning it. Maybe she slowed down sooner than usual. Maybe she felt something off early on. Headache, cramping, dry mouth. Maybe she ignored it. She had things to prove, things to film. There's a pressure that comes with putting your life online. You don't get to show weakness. You just keep moving. The trail is marked at first, then it turns to stone, loose rock and sharp turns. The saguaro cacti are tall but offer no shade. The heat rises off the ground and wraps around your legs like wire. She may have taken a wrong turn, a shortcut, she thought. Maybe she left the trail to capture a better view. She'd done that before. One of her most liked photos showed her at the edge of a cliff, arms wide, the desert behind her. A good frame is worth a few extra steps. But somewhere, something went wrong. Maybe her legs gave out. Maybe she tried to rest under a brittle tree, the kind that promises shade but delivers nothing. Maybe she drank too fast, maybe she didn't drink at all. Heat stroke does that. It turns off your instincts, makes you forget what you need. It tricks you into silence. And maybe her body, conditioned by years of competition, refused to quit even as her mind began to unravel. She might have stumbled, fallen, tried to crawl. She was only 600 yards from the trailhead. She may have seen it, may have believed she could still make it. Maybe she believed help was just around the next rise. That's the cruelty of it. She wasn't lost in some distant wilderness. She was right there, within reach. A few minutes from safety. But in that heat, minutes are years. Steps are miles. The desert stretches time and snaps it back too late. The sun pressed down like judgment, and no one heard her fall. Later that day, Hannah had planned to meet up with some friends for lunch. It wasn't like her to flake, not without a text, not without a reason. They waited longer than they should have, checking their phones, making excuses for her. Maybe she had a bad reception. Maybe she was running behind. Maybe she took one of those long, meditative walks she'd like to post about. But hours passed. The phone went straight to voicemail. They drove to her apartment. Her car wasn't there. The blinds were drawn, and no one answered the door. And that's when it settled in. That cold, rising thing in the chest that starts as doubt and becomes dread. They knew she liked to hike early to beat the sun. They knew she'd gone to McDowell Sonoran Preserve. She talked about the trail all week. She was filming something for her Hikes with Hand series. It was supposed to be a good day. It wasn't. By 7:45 p.m., they called Scottsdale police. Officers arrived at the Gateway trailhead that night. Hannah's car was still parked in the lot, dust collecting on the windshield. Her friend stood there helpless, looking out at the trailhead entrance as if she might suddenly walk out of the darkness, laughing, apologizing, saying she got lost in the beauty of it all, but she didn't. The first search began that night. Officers fanned out on foot and bicycle, headlamps casting thin circles of light onto rock and dust. A Phoenix police helicopter swept overhead with thermal imaging, scanning for any trace of a living body. They found nothing. At 11:30 p.m., they called off the search until morning. It was too dark, too dangerous. They promised to return at first light. By first light on May 22nd, the search resumed. Scottsdale police arrived early, joined by the Maricopa County Sheriff's Search and Rescue Team, K-9 units, and civilian volunteers. Drones took to the air. Volunteers arrived, locals with backpacks, water bottles, and hope. The air was already thick with heat, and they knew it would only get worse. They searched the official trails first, the Gateway Loop, the ridges toward Tom's Thumb. But she wasn't there, so they pushed farther, into dry washes, under brittle trees, along unofficial offshoots where she might have wandered. The desert stretched in every direction, and with every hour the hope narrowed. The K-9 slowed in the heat. Handlers poured water over their backs. Searchers whispered prayers they didn't admit to saying out loud. And then the helicopter spotted something, just 600 yards from the trailhead. A shape. Still, they sent a team, walked slowly, heads down, radios off. It was her. There were no signs of injury, no broken gear, just her body, laid out in the dust, like someone who had simply stopped moving. Her pack nearby, her eyes closed. She had made it almost all the way back. So close that the sound of her friends calling her name might have carried if time had been kinder. If the desert had given her 10 more minutes, one more breath. Later the police would say it looked like she died from heat exposure. No foul play, no violence, just the desert, heat, and time. People say strange things after a death. They say she was light, that she laughed loudly, that she believed too hard in good things. But with Hannah, it wasn't just words. She did things. She showed up when you were low. She wrote prayers on napkins and left them in your purse. She brought you soup when your car broke down. She gave too much, and maybe it wore her thin, but she never stopped. Her brothers were the first to speak publicly. Joel said she was a nomad, that she'd moved every year for a decade, looking for a place to land. She loved the ocean and the desert, but never stayed long in either. She was restless, but hopeful. Ethan wrote simply, "My heart aches. I love you, sis." Her mother, Terry, held herself still in front of the cameras. "It's not real," she said, but it was. The autopsy confirmed what her body had already said. The heat had taken her, no medical issues, no hidden weakness, just a strong woman walking into something stronger. Terry said Hannah was healthy, smart, prepared. But even then it wasn't enough. "People think they're fine," she said, "until they're not. Nobody knows the exact moment it started. Heat exhaustion is sneaky. You keep going because you're stubborn, because you're proud." Maybe she thought it was just fatigue. Maybe she sat down for a moment, planning to get up. Maybe she dropped her water without noticing. Maybe the weight of it, if she really carried 5 gallons, slowed her down, made the heat wrap tighter around her like a noose. Some speculate she got turned around. The trails near the Gateway Loop twist through rock and sand, easy to lose when your head swims. She may have tried to bushwhack toward the trailhead and collapsed within sight of it. So close. Some online users suggested she may not have been fully acclimated. She'd only been back in Arizona 6 months. That matters in the desert. The body needs time to learn how to sweat again, to ration salt. Even the strong fall here, and she was strong. But Hannah Moody didn't vanish into nothing. She left a crater. Friends describe her as an outgoing, free spirit who loved the outdoors and radiated kindness. She was the type of person who would go out of her way to make a stranger's day, one close friend recalled. Hannah's pinned comment on her Instagram has become something else entirely. It's no longer a message. It's a memorial. Thousands of comments now pour beneath it like flowers left at a gravesite. "Rest in peace." "Fly high, angel." Heart emojis. Scripture verses. Prayers from strangers who never met her but feel like they knew her. They call her a light, a soul that glowed a little warmer, a little kinder than most. Some write about crossing paths with her once, and how that moment stayed with them longer than they expected. Others say they never knew her, but her words made them feel seen. Now her page is a place where grief gathers and her spirit lingers. In the honest, unfiltered way that made her so inspiring, she spoke openly about her past, the weight of it, the struggle to let it go. She never pretended it was easy, but she believed in something greater, in God's mercy, in the kind of grace that lets you begin again. She was living proof that you could carry scars and still be made new. On May 31st, which would have been her 32nd birthday, her friends hiked the same trail at sunrise. They met at 5 a.m., when the light was soft and the world hadn't yet heated to kill. They shared memories. They held hands. They cried. This was one of her favorite things, being outside in nature, soaking up this time with the Lord, and she loved sunrises, said her friend Megan Pascal, who helped plan the tribute hike. They said she died doing what she loved, but that didn't make it easier. At the gathering, friends took turns sharing stories of Hannah's generosity and faith. Hannah just represented light. She made an impact on anyone that she touched, one friend said through tears. Others spoke of anger. Why hike alone? Why go out in triple-digit heat? Why keep chasing wilderness when safety was so close? But that was Hannah. She didn't walk easy paths. She walked honest ones. After her death, park officials issued more warnings. Don't hike alone, don't hike in the heat, start early, carry electrolytes, know your body, but the warnings came late. The desert does not negotiate. She wasn't the only one. A man died hiking the Wave Cave Trail that same month. Others were rescued just in time. They bring her name with them now. For Hannah, they say. They carry extra water. They carry caution. Her story became a lesson, told by hikers and rangers alike. But she wasn't just a cautionary tale. She was a person, with tired feet and kind eyes and a voice that told strangers they mattered. Her story didn't end with heat stroke. It ended in people remembering her. Her mother said it best. I hope she found the home she was always looking for. At her memorial, the group concluded the occasion by watching the sunrise together, confident this was exactly how Hannah would want to be remembered. In the pinned comment on her Instagram, Hannah Moody wrote, "It's scary to let go of the past, to fully accept that you must let go of the old to make space for the new. But God is faithful, and He loves you enough to call you higher. Be proud of the past you. Soak up all that you learned and trust that you did your best. Have faith and know that if God calls you out of something, it's because He wants to bring you to something so much better. You got this." In extreme heat, the rules change. Your body turns against you quietly. You don't sweat, you burn. You don't feel thirsty, you shut down. By the time you realize you're in danger, it's already too late. And the desert, it doesn't argue, it watches. People think hiking is freedom, and it is. But it's also survival. Every step in a place as hot as Arizona, Death Valley, Coachella Valley, or any desert, especially in the summer, is a wager. And if you don't come prepared, if you don't respect the math of water, shade, time, and temperature, you're not exploring. You're trespassing on something ancient, something that takes and doesn't apologize. If you're hiking in extreme heat, there's no room for guesswork, no room for ego. This isn't a gym. It's not a wellness retreat. It's a place that will roast your organs and dry your blood while you tell yourself you're almost there. Don't hike midday, period. Start at sunrise or don't start at all. Bring more water than you think you need, then double it. If you're not carrying electrolytes, you're gambling with your brain's ability to function. Heat stroke doesn't give you a warning. It steals your judgment first, so by the time you're in trouble, you're too stupid to know it. Watch your pace. Hiking in 100-degree heat isn't exercise, it's controlled survival. Rest in the shade. Don't push to make good time. No one cares how far you got if you die on the way back. Never hike alone in that kind of heat. Not because it's weak, but because it's smart. If you pass out behind a boulder or take one wrong turn, That solo hike becomes a death sentence with no witness. Tell someone exactly where you're going and when you'll be back. Not, I'll be out hiking. Give them a trail name and a time. If you're not back, you want search crews headed to the proper ridge, not guessing your route based on your last Instagram post. And most of all, if the temperature's high and you still feel the need to prove something, stay home. You're not impressing anyone, you're playing chicken with the sun. And the sun always wins. So hike. Chase the wild. Climb the ridge and watch the sun bleed into the stone. But understand this, beauty doesn't owe you safety, and nature never makes changes when you're in the middle of an outdoor disaster. If you've made it this far, please consider clicking those subscribe and like buttons. Want more outdoor disasters content? Check out these videos I believe you'll enjoy. Thank you for watching.